All right, Mr. Okey Bakassi, it's good to have you on the Deep Dive podcast. Thank you for joining me on this podcast.
Yeah, so thanks for having me. You're welcome.
I mean, it's a delight to have you here. I mean, too many things I want to talk to you about, but I'd like you to talk to me a bit, about your background. You were born in Imo State, but you traveled a bit as a child. You Pottiscombe in the north, Port Harcourt, sometime after. What kind of home did you grow up in, and what kind of family values did you grow up with?
Okay, yeah, you did your research. Yes, born in Imo State, some 50-something years ago. Yes, my early life started in Imo State, but as quickly as it started, we moved to Pottiscombe in then Borno State before they split it into two states. That was where I had my early primary school years. My dad served in the military, so you know how soldiers, they keep moving them from place to place. So we're in Pottiscombe, and at some point the weather wasn't really good for us, very harsh, weather conditions. But I loved the place, beautiful place as a child. So we had to move down east with my mom. My dad stayed put in the north. We came down to Imo State, where I continued my primary education, and from Imo State, later secondary school education was in River State, Federal Government College, Port Harcourt. From FGC Port Harcourt to River State University of Science and Technology, where I studied agricultural engineering.
And that part is interesting because you wanted to study theater arts, but initially you wanted to do medicine.
My first choice was medicine. Okay, but when it looked like it wasn't going to happen,
yes,
I went for my next choice, which was engineering.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so I guess my brain wasn't powerful enough.
But then you started a theater group while in school.
So it was while studying engineering that I
yes,
became involved in campus entertainment and theater.
Yes.
I went to University of Science and Technology, so there was no theater arts department in River State University.
Yeah.
They had in Uniport,
yes,
but not in River State University of Science and Technology. So we were part of the theater colleagues, a theater group on campus at the time, and that was where our love for the creative arts found expression. I at the time, and a very good friend of mine who is now in politics, Honorable Asita, were involved in campus skits and comedy and stuff like that. We were just having fun. Asita was in law, I was in engineering.
Interesting.
But the two of us, we had a fantastic duo. We were dominating campus entertainment at the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So naturally, when I came back, I came down to Lagos for my national service. After graduation. It was only natural that I gravitated towards drama. I was a member of the Lagos State, that batch NYSC drama troupe.
Yeah.
I was in 93 set.
But was it in Rust that you got the name Okey Bakassi, or it was after you left Rust?
Well, in Rust, I was still MCOK.
Oh, interesting.
I was still MCOK. That was what most, those who knew me at the time. My name was Okey, still.
Okay.
Then I came to Lagos. We did a bit of NYSC drama. I was interested in what was happening on television. I asked for where it was happening. I was directed to Zebe Jiro's office at Pako Aguda. I went there. Zeb gave me a shot on the set of Fortune, then with the likes of Liz Benson, Regina Askia, Ramzina, and Sonny McDonald, and the rest of them. So, yeah, that was my first chance at television acting.
Yeah.
At the time, Nollywood was also evolving. So
yeah.
Naturally, we gravitated towards
Nollywood.
Video scene and Nollywood.
I mean, I remember the movie that you starred in. It was a comedy movie that I stumbled on you, and I can't remember exactly the name of the movie, but you starred with Ikemo.
Yeah.
It was Pam Pam, right? And that's where you were.
Then we did a sequel, Yogo Pam Pam.
Yogo Pam Pam. That's where you were Janta Manta Loma.
No, Janta Manta was Daddy Shoki. Okay. I was local.
Okay.
Kemo was Mambo.
Mambo.
It was the adventure of Mambo and Jogo. Then we made Janta Manta.
I mean, because I remember it was really crazy days because every flyer after that sequel that had you and Ikemo were always rushing to rent those movies because you were really.
I kind of revolutionized the home video comedy scene, actually, and a lot of other things started happening in the comedy direction after that. It was a huge success.
It was really amazing. And I mean, I really want to also ask you, were you the one who started with Okpa Williams, The Night of 1,000 Laughs, or you were the star guest of the night of the first one?
No. The whole concept of Night of 1,000 Laughs, was created by myself, Reginald Eberry, and Okpa Williams.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
So it's safe to say that you were the pioneers of stand-up comedy in Nigeria.
You can say that. You won't be wrong.
But let's go a bit further and move away a bit before we come back to your art and your acting. You joined politics, when Joachim became governor of Imo State. He had invited you to become SSA on tourism and entertainment. Yeah, exactly. But talk to me how he found you, because it was at an event where you answered or asked a particular question, and then that's how you're foraying into politics. But tell that story.
You did your work well. So what happened was night shift Coliseum at the time was like the A-list place for the A-list people to go hang out on weekends. It was a membership kind of club, elitist. If I may say, there were other clubs. Night shift Coliseum was different, and I was close to the owner, Mr. Kenkale Bolumese. Great man. He liked my brand of comedy. So if they had their grand house reception, which was some kind of VIP designed programs where they host governors and people of that caliber, so if they had programs like that, sometimes they will invite me to come entertain. So it so happened that they were going to host the governor of Imo State at the time, Dr. Chief Ikedia Hakim. So he, being from Imo State myself, so he invited me. Said, "Look, we are hosting your governor. You're from Imo State. Come and do a few minutes of." And I respected him as a father in the entertainment business.
Yeah.
And I gave him my word that I would be there. But I had an event. I had a wedding event, earlier the evening of that day. So I went to do my event, my paid event.
Yeah.
Because this one was supposed to be pro bono.
Yeah.
So I went to do my paid event, finished, raced to Night Shift Coliseum. By the time I got there, the event had already started. They had locked up the place because usually once they are filled to capacity, they shut down. You can't go in, you can go out. So I got there, the place was locked down. But on personal recognition, the security people made way for me. I went in, the program was in progress, So I did my thing, and when it was Q&A session, question and answer session, I needed to ask question because it's my state. Now the governor is in Lagos trying to market the state. I need to know what future, what plans he had for the entertainment industry. Yeah. So after my question, and he also challenged me. He said, "Look, if you have ideas, why don't you come? Let's do it." So we need people like you to develop the state. Initially, I didn't believe him because politicians make promises. Yes. They can say things off the cuff, and you can't take them seriously. Like that, unfortunately. So after the event, so he said he will. He announced my appointment there, but like I said, I didn't believe. So event came past. I was going about my usual business in Lagos. I ran into some of the journalists who were there that night. Yeah. They were asking me, so how is work now in Imo State? Have you resumed? How is life in politics? I said, I've not gone into it. I'm still in Lagos. They said, but the governor appointed you. He was in front of the press. Yeah. I said, you guys believe everything all these people say. Come on. They said, no, he was serious. Have you even gone to check? So on second thought, I'm like, okay, I've not even gone to check. Maybe he's serious. So I left, flew into Owerri, checked myself into a hotel. I didn't know where to go because to see a governor is not... Yeah. You're likely to see a governor outside his state
than in his state.
than in his state, because all the security people would
Yeah.
keep everybody from getting close. So I was in the hotel paying bills for a couple of days. I couldn't get access to him. I didn't know who to talk to, You can't go to the government house gate and say, oh, the governor appointed me. So I spent a few days and it looked like waste of resources and time. I went back to Lagos. So a couple of days again, another journalist saw me and said, are you still here? Are you here? Are you working in Imo? Where are you? So the pressure kind of became too much. I went back again, to Imo State. So this time I did more, searching, and I was directed to go see the SSG. Went to the SSG's office, and behold, the letter of appointment was waiting there. So
and that's how you became
SSG. Has been here. We've not seen you. So
yeah, that's how you became SSG.
Okay, now I'm here. Okay. If that's the case, I'm here. I need to resume. So what do I do? They directed me. Anyway, the rest is history.
And that's how your work began.
Yes.
But what your time in politics, even though, you were not necessarily a politician, but you were working with a politician. What was it like working in Imo State at the time? What was your experience like trying to make things happen? Because usually when professionals look at politics outside in, they have all these glamorous ideas. Yeah. But for you, could those ideas you had find expression in government?
It was a mixture of a whole lot of things. All right. But generally, it was an experience that I can never forget, because I don't think any university in the world, would have, taught me the kind of lessons that I learned, being in public service, especially politics like that, It was good, bad, and ugly in some instances. Generally, overall, it was very fantastic. It was a good experience. I get to see up close how, governance and politics in Nigeria, how it works, how politicians think, how they see the rest of us, and from seeing that to becoming that, when you're on the entertainment side or on the side of the masses, the government is the problem.
Yeah.
All right. Then you get into politics or into governance or public service. Then you now realize, oh, okay, you're one of the problem as well.
Exactly.
You understand? So
yeah.
So so the kind of goodwill that was built over the years in showbiz, slowly eroded. And people started seeing you as part of the establishment, those who were responsible for their problem. Despite the fact that you don't see yourself like that, you don't think you're one of those. Because even by virtue of my appointment, I couldn't change anything. I don't even have a budget. You're just, you're just a glorified government errand boy. That is what I would call being a senior special assistant. A special advisor is different. It's almost like the rank of a commissioner. You have a budget, and that point you could make an impact.
Yeah.
But notwithstanding, I think I did my fair share.
Yeah.
I used the advantage of that opportunity to draw attention, because my role was assistant to the governor on entertainment industry matters. So I used that opportunity to draw the attention of government to the sector. Things they could do, things they were not doing, how we could do it.
Yeah.
And some of them, in fairness to my governor at the time, he was paying attention, and we started. State was supporting, both the Actors Guild and the P-Man in the state, as the Practicing Musicians Association in the state at the time. They were in disarray, they were disorganized, they were in perpetual crisis, so I had to mediate, because I let them understand that if you guys continue to do this internal politics that was taking you nowhere, you wouldn't organize enough to be able to, take your needs and concerns to government. Because half the time these guys were busy fighting over who becomes president of state chapter. That they were not paying attention to the welfare of the artists that they were supposed to cater for. And if you're not organized internally, how do you now present yourself, in front of government, or even know what role you're supposed to play, or what, government can help you do? So I was able to, first of all, do the house cleaning for them. Invited them over to the office, said, guys, we need to stop the fight, come together. there's a bigger picture here. Let's see the big, things, kind of organize the state first of all, then try to plug them into how things were running.
Yeah.
Because you need to be visible. In politics, if you don't say you're here, nobody will know you're here.
True.
There's a lot happening.
True.
The governor has 4-year tenure.
Yeah.
And I didn't even start, with them I started, I think, in the second year of the administration.
Yeah.
I didn't start with them from the beginning. So, so we're doing a race against time, trying to sanitize our own industry first, present them to government, and see how government in return can begin to. So we did all that.
Glad you talked about the 4-year tenure, because
unfortunately, by the time we left office, the next governor didn't share those.
Exactly. I was going to come to that, because firstly, I wanted to quickly ask you why you think you lost re-election.
Yeah.
What did you do wrong in government that made you lose re-election?
Lose now will be the state governor.
Yes, exactly.
That's high. It's high-level politics. They say Nigerian politics is one that is that defies logic in a whole lot of ways. All right. If you ask me at the time, then again I may be biased because I'm for the government.
Yeah.
But at the time the governor, had very good intention. One thing I can say for Ike Hakim is that he's a man who has vision.
Yeah.
He had a good team, and he made time to supervise projects. He's not one to delegate duties and go to sleep. No. Yeah, he held you accountable. He will sometimes midnight you will hear that where are you? The governor is going to inspect your site. Wherever it is you are setting up for an event or something. Around bedtime, and you will rush, immediately go to the place, and behold, in the next how many minutes you'll be there, trying to see how the setup is, what you've done right, and in my head I'm like, was this guy even
sleep?
You understand what I'm saying? In addition to all the things that we have to worry about. But then again, my observation is that in an attempt to do all this much he was doing, I think he lost a bit of touch with the people of Imo State. He lost touch with reality, because lots of things were happening on the street level. You see, as a governor, if you have this beautiful intention, the things that you want to do, and one thing is you having this beautiful plan, trying to execute it. Another thing is, are the people aware? It's easy for the people to feel that you're no longer part of them. The people may love you and you may come in a blaze of glory, but if suddenly the politicians ambush you and take you away from the people, you become so detached that they feel like you're no longer the man they voted for. Yeah, even when you're walking, they are not seeing what you're doing.
Interesting.
You understand?
Yeah.
And once in a while they get to see you on TV, you make a statewide broadcast, that is not enough. So the same way you want to touch people in an election year, shake hands, meet people expect you to meet them. And I remember I made a couple recommendations while I was in government to say, look, I'm a people's person. I'm on the street. I deal with regular people because that's what I do in entertainment. I mix with regular people often. And the words that I'm hearing on the street is not commensurate with the direction we are going, or the things that those in the inner cabinet are whispering to the ears of His Excellency. But then again, as a senior special assistant, you only get to attend expanded ESCO meetings. You're not in the main ESCO meetings.
Exactly.
So expanded ESCO meetings once in a long while. You don't even get to see your principal like that often, except at functions and at events. So those who, have his ear will continue to whisper what they want to whisper. Sometimes it's not matching what is out there.
Because, you talked about the fact that even the next governor that came after you did not follow up with some of the good things that you started. And I know that governor, which was Rocha Zokorocha, who came with a lot of fanfare, inspired a lot of hope with people in Imo. And of course, that's the hope always. Why do you think that continues to happen? And not just in Imo, but because you have a ringside view in Imo State.
Same thing that I just described.
I mean, how is it that they become so detached? Is it the kitchen cabinet? What really happens that removes them, from the people?
One of the kitchen cabinet, or AKA friends of the governor, his inner caucus people, or party loyalists. Yeah, they are overbearing influences was also part of the reason. So you have a man who is a man of the people, for example, who is perceived, let me put it that way, as a man of the people, gets elected, gets into office.
Yeah.
All right. Now, the thing is that a governor has to be protected because, I mean, there are imaginary people trying to get him. All right. So you have all the DSS and all the layers of security protecting the governor from harm and also protecting him from reality. Okay? So now what he leaves are those who are his inner kitchen cabinet people who have direct access to him. So those are the people he listens to. Okay? I mean, when you're doing the work of state, there are too many things pulling for attention. You have security briefings, you have expanded ESCO meeting, you have the traditional rulers to contend with, all the other leaders, all the other stakeholders. Then, of course, you have the opposition who also want to get you out of office by the next election. So you're dealing with all these things. You have to select a handful of people who you go to for advice, who you listen to, who are like your ear. Now, if these people don't have the same, share your vision, or don't see things from the lens that you see things, you're going to run into a whole lot of problems. So if you don't find a way to also once in a while pull yourself away from these people and listen to other voices of those who are not close to you and use wisdom to balance it, you're going to run into a whole lot of problems.
What I hear you say is that many a times the success of any administration is largely dependent on the quality and the conscience of the kitchen cabinet.
Yes, of those who surround the leader.
Yeah, interesting. But you yeah, I mean, you've been
because you can come in with a very bright idea, and as soon as you leave, somebody punches a hole in it,
and it's done.
And that's it. Great idea gone. The governor listens to you because he has very limited time to hear all these things from all these proposals coming from everywhere. So you have this beautiful proposal, he looks at it and he says, this sounds interesting. And he believes you because he knows that you have value to bring. All right? But the next man who is seated there, maybe a commissioner, a chief of staff, or a special advisor who has his own hidden agenda, will just, as soon as you leave, when I say His Excellency, we already have something like this that we are working on. You know, sometimes we have to be mindful of some of these people. This man, the intelligence we have on him is that he's also in bed with the opposition. So we don't know where he's going with this. But we will look. If the governor says, no, I want this looked at, all right? What the governor will do is set up a committee of some people who he thinks is knowledgeable in that particular aspect. He'll pass the proposal or the document to them. They can go and sit down and sabotage it.
Interesting.
Yeah, so and that's it. So, come back there. Even if the man says, hey, that project that I handed over to you, Your Excellency, we are working on it. If they see he's too interested in it, they can. All right? But trust me, a whole lot of things will change from the original concept you have, and even the original creator may be sidelined.
Interesting. So moving very quickly, because I want to maximize time here. Too many things I want to talk to you about. But you ran for office in 2011. You wanted to be a representative to represent your constituency, and
represent my constituency.
Exactly. And unfortunately, you didn't make it.
I didn't make the primaries.
What did that experience teach you on a personal level? Running for office and failing, to get the nomination and even getting the chance to stand in larger elections.
That experience taught me that the way the Nigerian political space is structured, the way the Nigerian party politics is structured, it will be very, very difficult. Yeah, it will be very, very difficult for a good man with the best of intention to come close to power. Which is why you saw what happened in 2023 with the Labour Party movement, the third force. The third force swept a whole lot of people into power who had absolutely no chance of making it. And we need that to happen often. People's power, all right? People saying enough is enough. We are going to rally round behind a certain candidate and we're going to push that person to the finish line. That is one way we can change this country. But if it's the way that party politics is structured, is in such a way that the cabal have taken the political parties for themselves and they can only share those offices with who they want to go. It doesn't matter your good intention or how qualified you are. If you want to get a seat at that table where
you have to play ball.
Power is discussed.
Yeah.
You have to. You have to reach a compromise. And sometimes they are the ones that you don't want to do. They are deals that you don't want to do.
Yeah.
Okay? So for me, particularly, what happened in 2011 was that by virtue of being in the cabinet, I became like a stakeholder in my local government.
Yes.
So what it meant was that I was invited to meetings at the local government level to, to be the governor's ear at such meetings.
Yes.
So it was in the course of doing that I saw some things that I didn't like.
Yes.
All right? So, and I watched for a while whether they were going to be addressed. I realized that those who wanted them addressed were easily sidelined, pushed out, like completely out of the party. They will frustrate you out of the party, you will go opposition. And once you go opposition, that's it.
Yeah.
Because if a certain party is ruling in a state and your opposition
there's nothing you can do.
You're not going to win.
Yeah.
You're not going to win the way they structure politics. They're going to use everything at their disposal. So your only chance is to stay within the party. And if you're within the party, you're powerless. There's no way. You're dead on arrival.
Interesting.
So I saw all these loopholes and I decided, because I like to shake things up for good, though.
Yeah.
So I said, no, we can't all, roll over and die and let these guys have their way. So if they are trying to muscle all these people out, I'm going to throw my cap in the ring. Let's see what happens. So, so I spoke with the elders. I said, look, I'm interested in this position. Yeah. So I went to my governor and my chief of staff, and I told him I'm resigning my appointment because you have to resign.
Yeah, before you run.
So I told him I'm resigning. I went to seek audience with the governor.
Yeah.
To say, look, I thank you for the opportunity, but my people need representation. I think I can do this.
I mean, now that you mentioned
all hell let
loose. I can imagine.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought up the Labour Party politics because I mean, you many people who didn't know that you had a bit of experience in politics were shocked that. Here's somebody who makes us laugh on TV is taking a center stage in national politics now because you were solidly behind the candidate of the Labour Party and you really wanted him to win. And, too many things I want to ask you about that period, but what I really want to poke at is why did you throw all your weight, behind Peter Obi as a candidate, despite all the odds, risking whatever opportunities you could lose and everything.
Yes.
Why did you go all out?
Okay, fine. First, because
Peter?
of my experience in 2011 when I went to run for House of Assembly. All right? Nobody gave me a chance. All right? I didn't get the kind of support that I needed, but I had the best of intention, and I had a very good plan for the people of Ayers and BC. All right? There were things that I knew could be done better. All right? And honestly, it wasn't about the money or anything that could come from it. Yeah, for me, it was about the youth. I believe that this country has never had plans for the youth. Everything is about the old people and the politicians, how their nests will be feathered and all that. We never had. So for me, I was looking at Yazumbisa and I was looking at the whole lot of young people there who need. So when 2023 happened and we started talking politics again, and Peter Obi was pushing his message and spreading his ideology around the country, it resonated. It was in line with some of the things that I was thinking, that I believe that as a country, if we can do, it will be for the benefit of everyone, irrespective of tribe, religion, and everything.
Yeah.
And I said, no, this man has to be given all the support that he deserves. It is easier for me as an entertainer to go the other way. I mean, to be in bed with the powers that be.
Yeah.
I'll make more money from that.
True.
Yeah. What do I stand to gain from Peter Obi? You understand? They give shishina. I won't get anything from there. Instead, I'm putting my career on the line, especially in a place like Lagos that is led by the opposition party.
Yeah.
It's a big risk. But for national interest, for the betterment of everyone, I saw what I considered very good, and I had to be part of it. What a lot of people did not know is that I'm a member of the PDP. I'm not a member of Labour Party, but I'm obedient. All right? So his message resonated with me more than the message of the political party that I support. You understand?
Yeah.
So at that time, it wasn't about my political party. It was about the future of Nigeria. And this is the one man who, on the side of equity, check. On the side of, the message that he was spreading, check. On the side of his track record, check. So, why not? What is the worst that can happen?
Exactly. And the fallout of this, because I know that recently you made the comment, talking about indigenship,
Yes.
And all hell was let loose. People were bashing you to go back to your state. And you, in fact, the suspicion was that you were making a claim to take over Lagos, and all of that. How do you feel as someone who spent, if I'm not exaggerating, 25 plus years in Lagos
I've
State?
been here 30 years.
30 years, exactly.
Yes.
How do you feel when you make certain philosophical, ideological arguments? Because there's been this argument of indigenship and citizenship for a long time in this country. How do you feel when you see people attack you so viciously and make it a tribal thing?
Now, the thing is that, honestly, if you know me very well, things like that don't even bother me. You understand? Because there's one saying, you never argue with a fool. People may not know the difference. So when I identify a fool or somebody who a novice on a particular subject matter, I don't waste my energy arguing with you. And there are lots of ignorant people on social media. All right? I at the risk of sounding immodest, I come from a background of so many experiences in politics, in entertainment. I know engineering, and I study, I research. So if I weigh in on a particular issue, I know what I'm talking about. I cannot claim the monopoly of knowledge, but if you see, when you lack facts, I don't want to argue with you. You are entitled to your opinion. If you want to forget about the substance and the root, it's up to you. But I'm not going to jump into the same gutter with you. Now, let me take my background again. In my October, I'll be 54. In my 54 years of existence in Nigeria, I have spent 30 of it in Lagos, southwest Nigeria. All right? I spent about 10 in River State, Niger Delta. I spent some in the northern part of the country. Collectively, if I've spent time in the southeast of Nigeria, it will be 5 years. Now, in any other society, I will be more Lagosian than anywhere else. It's only in Nigeria that I won't be Lagosian. If I spent 30 years in Canada, I'll be Canadian. If I spent 30 years in the US, I'll be American. If I spent 30 years in the UK, I'll be British. It's only in Nigeria that I will spend 30 years in Lagos, and election time you tell me to go back to the East. So whoever is pushing that ideology, you can see clearly that the person is either ignorant or stupid. You understand? So why do I now have to argue with such a person? All right? Now, what some of the people who do these things don't realize, too, is that if you're born in Lagos, it doesn't matter if your name is Nnamdi or Kechuku or whatever. If you're born in Lagos, you're Lagosian. Yeah? Your national passport says place of birth, Lagos. I'm not saying I was born in Lagos.
Yeah.
But sometimes when people look at people and they say, go back to your state, you're Igbo, you're Hausa, you're this person or you're that person. Do you know where the person was born? Are you judging based off of their name? You understand? And we had this argument during the elections. So people don't understand it. So now, but let us look at the main substance. Tribe and religion in Nigeria has done more harm than good. It has done more of division than development. So what are we still doing with it? What has my tribe or my religion got to do with my execution of my work as an artist, or as a civil servant, or as an engineer, or as a pilot, or as a nurse, or a doctor, or a teacher? What has my religion or my tribe got to do with it? These things are maybe things that shape us as people when we are coming up. But when it comes to the nitty-gritty of our everyday life, you find that it has become a tool for the politicians to divide us. Now elections are over. They are in Abuja, appropriating 70 billion in the National Assembly. They are going to share that. Nobody will talk about tribe or religion. All right? The executive will take their share. Nobody will talk about tribe or religion. The judiciary will be allocated theirs. Suddenly, we are not talking tribe and religion again. We are going to talk about it again in the next 4 years.
4 years.
So you see the stupidity of all that.
Exactly.
So why don't we solve this problem? The state quota system has failed us. All right? National character and all those things. We don't apply them when we need to apply them. In an election cycle, we won't apply national character again. But when it's too source, we'll activate all those things. So why don't we be honest to ourselves as a country and say, look, this thing is not doing anything for us again. Abolish state of origin, emphasize state of residence. So now, and you say, when you say abolish state of origin and emphasize state of residence, people in Lagos begin to have erection. Like their state is the only state. You understand?
Yeah.
If you abolish it across nationwide, what it means is that Shegu, my friend, who has a palatial mansion in Rivers State, becomes a resident. He's resident in Rivers. For as long as I've known him, he will be comfortable in Rivers as his home.
Yeah.
If he calls Rivers home, he will be his home. My security man in the village, who is from the north, can comfortably say he's from Imo State because that is where he lives. So wherever you live, you pay tax, you work hard, you spend all your hard-earned income as an individual, becomes where you live. Then if I need to fill a document, all I need is where I reside. Where my father is from, how relevant is that? How relevant?
I mean, that's a robust
and
debate.
these are low-hanging fruits.
Yes.
We're talking nationhood, unity, bringing everybody together. That is what we should emphasize.
I mean, that's a robust
My
debate.
three kids are Canadians by virtue of being born in Canada. Yeah?
Yeah.
And none of them is up to 25. And their father, who is 30 years in Lagos, is not in Lagos. My kids are already voting. My kids are voting in Canada.
Interesting.
And their father, people are saying you should go. And for their information, I don't even vote in Lagos anyways. I'm registered to vote in my state.
Interesting.
So every election cycle, I go home to vote, unknown to them. I vote at home. I don't vote in Lagos. But the point is that it has to be said. It's about all of us and not some of us.
I like how you put it. It's about all of us and not some of us. And because we're running out of time, I just like to close, by asking you two quick questions. And this is going back to your career as a comedian. There are a lot of people now playing skits all over the internet, YouTube, Instagram, and all of that. Yeah. Do you get a sense, or do you have any fears that, these young kids who are masterfully putting out skits on social media are going to come for your lunch, and the days of stand-up comedy, like you know it, will soon be over?
No, never worried. Because skit is not stand-up. Stand-up comedy is a different kind of art form. And is one of the toughest, if not the toughest art form, stand-up comedy. It's you, the microphone, and the crowd. Most times, no props, no backup music, nothing. It depends on your spontaneity, your ability to think on your feet.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried. No skit maker can replace Okey Bakassi. Yet Okey Bakassi can make skits. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't know how you're going to run me out from business. If skits begin to make more money, that's what I do. I'll make skits, and I'll even make good skits. Because some of the skit makers rely on our content to shoot their skits. What they do is they go watch you on YouTube and take some of your jokes and reenact them as drama.
Interesting.
That is what they're doing.
Final question,
we don't have laws stopping them from doing that.
Yeah.
So they keep doing it. So some of them are profiting off what we create as stand-up comedians. No, I don't think any good stand-up comedian is losing
sleep over that. I like to ask everyone who sits on my chair. You've had a very rich career. You've diversified from TV to stage to comedy to politics, and to even radio. Much recently. Any regrets in your 54 years? And no regrets. Fascinating way to end our conversation. Thank you so much, Okey Bakassi, for joining this conversation. It's a pleasure to have you on. Thank you.